thanks for taking the time for this interview with us today. For those who aren't familiar with you, would you mind introducing yourself to the audience?
Yeah, sure. I'll start that one. My name's Adam Mierzejewski. I work on the competition operations team as a senior manager. And really my team and my role is to make sure that our competition is fair, it's fun at the same time, as well as working alongside the product team and making sure the entire year is well thought out, from the format to the rules and everything in between. We work very closely with the team GMs, coaches, and players to ensure they're informed every step along the way.
My name's Sean Miller. As Kevin mentioned, I work on the product strategy and team operations team here at the Overwatch League with John Spector and a couple other teammates. As Adam mentioned, we work very closely together on what does the season look like, and coordinating with teams and the development team and others across Blizzard to make sure that we deliver something awesome for fans.
All right, thanks guys. So with that out of the way, let's get started. So by the time this video comes out, the announcement post with the news about the league schedule, format, and prize pool should already be up. Let's just start by addressing the proverbial elephant in the room of why are hero pools back this season. So it was great to see the league embrace more tournaments this year with lessons learned from the previous season, but a lot of people want to know why the league has decided to bring back hero pools despite their controversial implementation last season and the subsequent mixed reception from coaches, players, and the community as a whole. Can you guys shed some light on the decisions behind this, even though we know it's not being brought back in full, but just a limited capacity? Why have you decided to go forward with this?
Sure, so I can take that one. I think one of the coolest parts of watching Overwatch is being able to see variety, right, in the heroes being played in the metas, and being able to have that fresh view, as much as you can. And so hero pools, we found last year were actually a pretty good way to do that. They did increase the variety, the competition of the meta, of the heroes being played, and we found that fans generally appreciated that. And while that's being said, you bring up a good point that it did cause some burden, right, on players and coaches and their staff on preparing and having that changing meta be part of their practice schedule. And so what we did this year was really tried to find that perfect balance, right, between how do we maximize that variety in the viewing experience while also minimizing the burden on our teams. And we feel like that got to a really good spot by having a month-long tournament and also having the hero pools within that tournament cycle. We'll be able to not only accomplish the variety, the minimizing burden objectives, but also we'll be able to keep a consistent meta throughout the whole season. And I think it also goes to the patching schedule that we're looking to implement too, right? So if the Washington Justice win three of their 4 games, right, during the June joust, they'll also be able to play on the same meta, the same patch, the same hero pool during tournament weekend.
So I guess move on to the next question. Compared to season 1 and 2, we can see that a lot of teams this year slimmed down their roster sizes to around the minimum of 7 players, while some people have definitely, sent a few more on. It's without a doubt teams have slimmed down a bit comparatively to prior seasons. And now with the global health pandemic going around, a lot of people want to know what type of contingency plans does the league have in the event that one or more players happen to get sick. Will the schedule be flexible enough to adapt for these type of occurrences?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. This is Adam. Yeah, I mean, a lot of this is up to the teams on how they want to build their rosters, right? We do have that minimum requirement, like you mentioned, with 7 players, and if you want to go up to 12 with a max, that's up to them. But given the extreme circumstances that we've seen with this pandemic, and we did a lot of adjusting throughout the year last year, I think we built 2021 in mind of what we learned on a positive end, maybe not so great way throughout the year, and implemented those flexibilities and being agile throughout the year. So in the event that something happens during the pandemic that is unforeseen with a specific team, let's say, we will work directly with them and make sure that we can help them along the way. Like these are challenging times, and we want to help each and every player, because that is always on top of mind for us, is the health and safety and well-being of our players and teams.
Excellent. So on the topic of challenges, Sean, last time that we talked, you mentioned the minimum latency tool that was implemented, among other technologies that would help improve the competitive integrity of the league move forward, as now we have more crossplay between East and West divisions. John himself stated on multiple occasions about how Hawaii is potentially an option on the table for when we have Western teams versus Eastern teams. But can you elaborate a bit on what the Hawaii answer potentially looks like, as if it might be a silver bullet solution to overcoming some of the burdens that might come with latency when playing across Pacific?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with minimum latency being a silver bullet and a really incredibly innovative solution, right? That Adam has worked really closely on with our IT team and our developers. And it's truly what makes Hawaii and global competition possible, especially in this environment with the pandemic. And so plans are very much still all a go for having the top NA teams travel to Hawaii, or the top Western teams travel to Hawaii for every tournament weekend, and playing, the Asia teams or the Eastern teams on a latency that's acceptable. We've done a lot of testing. Adam can probably talk to this even better than I can, but so much testing and making sure that the ping is acceptable and competitive and fair to our players. And we really think that being able to do this and pulling this off is going to change the game for a while, right? Like being able to have NA to Asia competition via a cable through the ocean is really incredible. It's frankly one of the things I'm most excited about for the 2021 season.
Yeah, and if I'd just like to add, like everything Sean said is very true. And look, like I think all of us really want to see cross-region play, and it was very difficult throughout the midst of the pandemic of last year. And as going into this year, it's still very much a difficult thing for us to tackle, but we're finding these ways to do it and have these cross-region plays. Our grand finals, we brought our teams over to Korea and they played. But this time, if we can bring them to Hawaii, it'll reduce the burden of the quarantine, which I don't know if anyone wants to get locked up in 14 days of quarantine. But this will allow to alleviate that and also give them a fair way to compete against their the rest of the teams in the league. And we did substantial testing, like you mentioned. If we didn't get good results, we wouldn't have gone forward with it. So we were hopeful, but we were diligent. And after the series of testings that we've done with Hawaii in particular, we feel very good about it. And assuming that we're able to travel over to Hawaii safely with our teams, like Sean mentioned, we're going to do it. It's going to be exciting.
I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how things pan out this year as well. Hopefully for the better. So heading into this interview, we asked the community for a variety of questions they want to ask. One of the most prominent being discussions about supporting the tier 2 scene. So personally, I'm a firm believer that an esport is only as healthy as the talent that funnels into its tier 1 scene. And sadly, over the course of the last year or so, we've seen the tier 2 Overwatch scene kind of struggle a bit, as the SEA and South American regions, as an example, have had infrastructure support dialed back a bit. And while John stated in a post to community that it is an issue that the Overwatch League team is aware of, we haven't heard much in terms of what the outlook looks like for 2021 and a more robust plan from the team about how tier 2 will get increased support, despite being fully aware of how infrastructure has been dialed back.
Yeah, and this is Adam again. So the path to pro, right? With our contenders, open division, we've went through a lot of iterations over the years since we launched them back in 2017. And especially last year, there was a lot of learning lessons and changes that they had to go through, as well as the league itself. We work very closely with the folks over in Path to Pro, and even Overwatch League teams who have either players or they scout players from there. It's been a very successful tool for them to bring up incoming talent into our league. So we want to continue to support that and work with them to create the right funnel. We do have plans to announce what's going on in the tier 2 scene and all, I believe later this month, but soon, let's call it. So I won't go into too much detail there, but I can say that there's been constant discussions throughout the offseason as we're building the Overwatch League of how we're implementing the path to pro, and feedback that we get from our teams. One being we want to keep things aligned in terms of the patches and even hero pools if they have them, because it makes it easier for them to scrim and practice and scout talent. And we listen to that. They're the ones that are ultimately competing, and we want to work with them on it. So I think we have some cool things planned. I know we do, actually, and I really want to get that out there, and so hopefully soon we can get that to you.
I was recommended by some people to ask you this question. How are you planning to use more player cams this year on the broadcast to help improve the viewership experience? Because we've learned a lot of lessons from 2020 and adapted through the various issues that we faced and the technological hurdles. But one thing that was missing that a lot of people wish we could see again that was seen in prior seasons was a more integration of the player and talent crossover when it came to content. And especially player cams, cutting to and from the mid-match to really capture the essence of the player experience in the middle of a match. Is this something that the team has been cognizant of and is working towards resolving? That's
something that I know we all enjoy, going to live events and seeing the player reactions and the personalities of them. And as we adjusted throughout the year last year, you probably saw that we implemented more and more player cameras to the point that we were able to implement them throughout the broadcast, not just during interviews. So as we learned throughout the year, and we took this off season to really figure out what we can and can't do going into this new year, I'm not going to tell you everything, because we still want to keep things pretty wrapped up, or at least give some surprise, or leave the opening week pretty exciting and new. But there are going to be a few changes in the broadcast that I think people will be excited to see, including what you're mentioning with seeing more player cams, more just player personalities. And I know we've had even listen-ins in the past, and those are always well received, even those little content pieces we have. I always get giddy over them when they're released. So I hear you with that question. I hear the community when they mention that, and we all feel the same way too, and we want to deliver.
Speaking of the micro content that you enjoy, we know last month they announced YouTube Clips is a technology that they're rolling out soon, and that many fans are looking forward to, because that creates those viral experiences that we've seen on Twitch that made the Overwatch League very shareable amongst friends and family. With that being said, so we know that there's been something exciting in the works for a while now that would without doubt elevate the Overwatch League experience in terms of your engagement standpoint. And I know you've hinted at this, but do you think in today's interview that you can finally announce that is something that we can expect this season?
Yeah, I could take this one. I think that we've seen with our sister league, Call of Duty League over the weekend, how amazing it was to see some of the improvements they were able to do, and around the quality of the stream, as well as the incentive programs. And so we're working through all of that on the Overwatch League side as we speak, and should have more to share on what exactly that means for us in the next month or so.
Looking at how grand finals were handled in previous years, we've always had some type of show or performance. And while 2020 made it challenging because of how sudden we all had to adapt and throw things out of the way because of just how difficult it was to execute a grand finals event without being fully prepared ahead of time, because these things take a lot of planning to pull off. Is there anything in the works to reintroduce this type of celebration for the climax of a year's worth of competition in 2021, whether that be in a live performance, perhaps a custom song, or animated video that integrates the Overwatch League competitive spirit?
Oh man. Well, I know I don't really have much to really give you there, unfortunately, but I would love to hear some ideas that people might have. The community has some great ideas, and you listed off some neat ones just right there. It does make it difficult. You're right. It's different, right? The first couple of years we were able to be the person in these big arenas, sell them out, and really celebrate the top two teams of the league. And we were able to do that again, even despite the pandemic, but just not in that live setting. what does the future hold for us? We don't know, right? We're playing it month by month and keeping our ears open to what's going on with this pandemic and seeing what we can do. So as we progress through the year, I'm sure we'll give you the details you want. And what we want ultimately is a live event, right? But we're just not sure what we can and can't do at this point. So stay tuned for more on that, I guess. But would love to hear ideas at least, both if it's live or if it's online. You know, let's get creative. Yeah,
and just to add to that, I think that the postseason that's going to be coming with more details that we'll share over the coming months is really exciting, and I really like the format that we ultimately landed on. And so, just to kind of give a short tease there, like I think fans should get excited about what the postseason looks like and what we're trying to do.
So as we wrap up, we know that based on the schedule, the league starts on April 16th. And I just want to know, what is something that you are personally looking forward to sharing with the Overwatch League fans from around the world this season that you've been working on?
That is a great question. I think one of the things I'm most excited about is one of the teams that I help the most is the Washington Justice as a representative for them at the league. And I'm just really excited to see what they can do this year. They have a really interesting roster that seems incredibly high caliber. And they're one of those teams to me that there's a lot of interesting storylines, I think, for the 2021 season. Obviously, can the Shock three-peat? What's Dallas going to do? I think Washington, I put them kind of in a similar bucket, like just they have so many powerhouses on their team that can do a lot of different things. What's Decay going to do this year? And so is Jerry going to pop off for him? I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah, I'd love to answer that one too, because there's a lot to look forward to. I mean, hearing like opening week, you got the Battle of Texas and you got Jake back on the Outlaws and Shock in the LA Gladiators with Moth on the Gladiators now. Like there's some really just cool things right off the bat. That's is exciting just to look forward to. And then, you know, when we go to these tournaments, which happen like every 4 weeks within the regular season, and it's in Hawaii for the North American teams, and they get to play the Asia teams or the teams across the pond more than just once this year. There's things that we were limited to last year that we're trying to maximize, and you know, the things that we have planned for our broadcast and along, you know, working with YouTube, like we are coming out the gate really hard this year, and some of it I could talk about now and some of them I can't. But yeah, it's really those storylines that's going to surface, and we're going to have fun with this broadcast too. You know, we have a lot of opportunity to have fun with our teams, and everyone, you know, we got some cool things planned with our teams and players and what we want to do. So even though this announcement that we have has a lot in it and things to get excited for, there's even more to get excited for in the future.
Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed this interview with the league, and we'd like to thank Sean and Adam for taking the time to speak with us. We just wanted to mention that we were informed ahead of time that neither of our guests could divulge details when it came to Overwatch 2 or the LA Valiant situation. So out of respect for our guests, we refrained from venturing into these topics and appreciate your understanding. Thanks for watching. This video was made possible thanks to our wonderful patrons. A huge thank you to everybody on this list, and shout out to Jason, Foxy, Lyra, Mauve, Nate, Nathan, Sierra, Shoopy, Shampoo, Weeaboo, Spartacus, and Karantal for being platinum supporters. And an extra special shout out to Mookie, Noodles, Marco, and Steven for being diamond supporters. Thanks for sticking with us, folks. If you also want to support our channel and unlock perks, check out the Patreon link in the description below or join our Discord server. If you want to help us out in a different way, leaving a like, subscribing, and hitting the bell to stay up to date is also appreciated. My name is Nikita, and thank you for watching.